Thank you for joining us for today's Virtual EXPO Showcase. Eliminate the frustrations of desktop photo ID management software. I'm John Ogle, Membership Engagement Manager with NACCU. Joining me today from Express Badging are Joe French, President, Randy Redding, Customer Support Manager, and Brent Bradford, Sales Director. Joe, I'll turn it over to you. Welcome.
Thank you, John. And thank you, NACCU members, for the opportunity to present at your virtual expo. We've attended quite a few of them, and we've found them quite educational. Today, our topics are going to cover related to our cloud-based badging tool, the Vionics portal. We're going to cover our history and background, some issues and benefits. We're going to review the pricing model. We're going to go through some data integration and more of an overview of our architecture and a presentation of some key features. We're going to be doing this all through a simulated PowerPoint presentation.
I'm not getting
And when we
any
get to the
sound.
questions and answer section, if we have time, I've got Randy here and he'll go in and show us some live features if you would like to see some things, just let us know. Since Express Badging is new to NACCU as a sponsor vendor, I've actually been associated with NACCU going back to my days in the industry, back 3 decades actually. This is my first endeavor in here with my own company, and I really appreciate the opportunity and look forward to showing you our Vionics portal. So let's see, click. There we go.
I'm not hearing anybody talking.
John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So I'd like to share with you a little bit about Express Badging. We started in 1993 in Central Florida, and we've grown to be a recognized resource serving both the US and Canadian markets. We do two things and two things very well. We print photo ID badges, primarily technology badges, for our customers as a service. And second, we provide the services, systems, and supplies for our customers to print and manage their own ID issuance on site. We also are authorized partners for HID Fargo, IDP, Zebra Technologies, let's see here, Brady People ID, Identicard, and Jolly Technologies. Those are our primary relationships. We are members of NACCU. We're recent members as a sponsor partner this year. So we're babies. So I'm getting to meet a lot of new people. Thank you. We're also members of ASIS International, used to be As Is, and we're also a member of Identification Systems Dealers Association. Through all this networking, we have also built strong relationships with other card printer manufacturers, solution providers within our industry, and that have helped grow our business. I'd like to share with you that Express Badging cybersecurity is part of our culture. We take it very seriously. We did so before the cloud, and once we went to the cloud, it has allowed us to even tighten up our processes and procedures, and you'll find that's built in throughout our product as we go forward. What sets us apart at Express Badging is our cloud-based badging solution called the Vionics portal. So what I like to do is share you just a little bit about the background of that, and I'll start with the word Vionics. It's a word we came up with that stands for verification electronics, and it's sort of related to these high-tech card, the readers they're used in, and the devices they're used in. So we have Vionics portal, we have Vionics selfie features, we have all these Vionics features that we have that all tied and built around that value. I'd like to share with you the spark, what sort of got our Vionics portal going. Express Badging is very similar to the college campuses in that we print hundreds of thousands of badges a year. And we actually use desktop software. For a long time, we used Identicard software. They're IVIS, if those are familiar with it. We moved to Jolly Technologies, and now we're using our Vionics portal. But the spark was I was at a conference in 2012, and a gentleman was speaking on IoT, or Internet of Things, and mentioned the phrase, go mobile or go out of business. And that just struck a chord with me. And we fired up some previous wish lists that we have developed starting back in 2009 and started in the development phases. And so in 2015, we brought the Vionics portal to the market. The key features that we have in here are baked in up front. They're not bolted on as an afterthought. It was a key thing. Security, I will say, is primarily the focus of that. As we onboarded our service bureau business, we have about 400 plus customers that we print as a service for. We also have hundreds of customers that have printers and software. As they started learning more about our portal, they found that it was advantageous for them. And one of our largest campuses is Kaiser University. They have 23 campuses. They actually upgraded to our portal, replacing 20 plus versions of software, all integrated back to their Campus Nexus database. That's well in excess of 100,000 records. A second good point that I like to relate to campuses is we're also strong in healthcare. One of our largest and it's one of the largest healthcare organizations in the country. They have migrated over 10 of their healthcare units. That represents hundreds of locations they've moved to the portal, and they have integrated with their PeopleSoft database. And that database, as of recent, is around 1 million records. That includes active and inactive records. Regardless, that was just a major endeavor and a very big accomplishment when our team pulled that off. And that was done last year for the integration portion. We've had many of them on the portal at standalone, but now it's fully integrated. So all they do is log in, look up a record, capture pictures, and print badges. So what I'd like to do is move into the features where we're going to talk about issues with desktop software. What I do not want to do is do a feature dump on you. We have a lot of cool features. I love talking about it, and I could spend hours. So I'm not diving into things because I don't want to. It's so I can stay within the time limit. So if there are certain things you want to do, we can always do a takeaway presentation on the side if your campus would like to see this. Issues with desktop software. We can relate with what you're doing because we also print thousands of badges a day, it's fair to say. And when we were with the desktop software, we had maintaining updates and licenses as a major key issue. That we also, an example would be, you may have 3 or 4 licenses installed on 3 or 4 different PCs, but maybe 1 or 2 users because they're concurrent uses. You still have to maintain those instances, and they need to be supported and updated as the updates are published by the manufacturers. Card printing management software does card printing only primarily. All the other features that you want it to do, like remote capture and virtual ID and reporting, these are all bolt-on integrations. Reporting and stats, I like to call out as its own because typically most of them do not even have reporting or very limited. And so you need to make a friend with a crystal a reports person and maintain that friendship for a long time. And I think those that grab data out of their system can appreciate that. The last thing that was key to us and getting out of the desktop environment was mobility and its complications. If you want to stand up a remote capture or remote enrollment station, you're going to have an Ethernet drop. A remote VPN just doesn't work, not reliable at least. So what I like to do is now jump over and talk about what we've solved by building a cloud-based credentialing solution that we call our Vionics portal and how that's really helped us out. So one is the dynamic updates and licenses. We have engineers that manage the code base, and we're nothing's perfect. You're going to find little things that we need to fix. And what happens is those get created in a Jira database. They go back to our dev team. Our dev team fixes things. They get put up on a QA or quality assurance database. They make sure it's all working to their standards. Our internal product management team then goes through a QA checklist to make sure everything's working great. And about monthly, if no later than quarterly, we're pushing up an update. And when we do that, it is available for everybody that has a license. So it's instant. The second thing is our user licensing, how we manage users. I'm going to save that for right now because I'm going to go through our pricing in detail, but I'm going to introduce some new concepts that will allow our Avionics portal to grow and be managed during your peaks and valleys of issuance. So with our cloud-based solution, our Avionics selfie module, our Avionics virtual ID module, our dashboard module, and all the security features, these are all built into the system. They are not added on. I'll go into each one of these in more detail, so I'm going to continue on. And mobility is made simple. We all know the friendliness of using our mobile devices, specifically our phones. As long as you're on a mobile device, that's a phone, tablet, or laptop, you have full access to your portal account based on your secured user rights. So I'd like to address a big topic that's usually presented at the end of the presentation, and that is pricing. So what are the costs associated with our Avionics portal? In doing so, I'm gonna go through some of the basics, but I ask that this pricing also is a 2021 price matrix. I wanted to present you what it's going to be next year. There's some new things in here, but it'll give you a good overview. And I'm going to try to be as detailed as I can, but as quick as possible. We have a new license called Basic. We stood this up for our nonprofits and small businesses. This could even be a small school or campus, but it does not include data integration, and it's less than 500 records. It really is for a small organization. We're going to focus on our most popular standard portal database instance. It starts off with 5,000 records and one print location. Now, I'd like to discuss this little new animal called a print location. This is sort of a fair agreement between us and our customers so that they can manage their account with having to worry about quotas being going over a threshold and the system stop. For an example, we allow 4 printers per workstation and 25 system users per workstation. We define a print location as a physical address, or in your case, a campus, like you may have a North Campus and a South Campus. Those would be 2 print locations. We also include with our standard portal up to 8 hours worth of support. Typically, it's broken down with 2 hours of initial setup and training and about 6 hours a year to maintain the system. So if you have a problem, it becomes our problem. You call us up and we have a support team that'll help you out. This also includes, if you procure printers from Express Badging, we also include the warranty management within that standard license fee. We actually have out of printer warranty options, and I'm going to save that till I get to the custom section. Included in that license is our Avionics selfie module and our Avionics virtual ID card module. Very important because those are very powerful tools that are coming in at a very reasonable price, we believe. Once you you get to your 4th seat, you're going to save about a third of the cost for the 4th seat in addition. Moving over to our data integration. So this is what's going to turn the standard package into an enterprise package. By adding onto our data integration, you're going to add 2,500 records, 25,000 records to your account. That includes one bidirectional database. I'm going to get into that in more details on the architecture, but basically this allows you to send us information securely and for us to return that back to you. I will say most of our customers do single directional integrations. However, if you would like to get things back like the photo and the RFID number, that's why that benefit is there. We include up to 27 hours of support that's broken down by 15 hours of setup and training. And that is getting everything terminated and up and running and live. And then 12 hours, about an hour a month to maintain that instance. There's a lot of service on the back end of this where our engineers are making sure it's a stable connection. And once it's connected, we have 0 issues with it. If you would like to add additional connections to databases, we have that feature too. It starts at $2,000 a year per additional database. This would be something like when I get into the architecture of like maybe a PAC system or your POS, where maybe we want to communicate back and forth with them. As long as the setups are within the 27 hours, we're fine. However, usually when you get to that environment, we're going to exceed, and then those will become a billable rate. On our custom options, I'll start off with the big dogs. So if you want your own instance of this cloud on your own server, or your own instance of Azure or AWS, Amazon Web Services, we can do that. Takes a lot of heavy lifting. However, it also comes with a heavy lifting budget. So what we have done is we've offered some solutions to sort of prevent that from happening for those that do not need that type of environment. So one would be, we can brand the site with your school branding, and instead of it saying vionixportal.com, it would say mycampus.vionixportal.com. And that is, the .com is important. We can't make that an edu, but we do address that via email. So our email engine is going to be sending out of the box with a vionix.com email address. We have some of our customers do not want that. So we use a product that's a low-cost product called SendGrid, and it's a professional or authorized spoofing tool so that when emails go off, they would go off with your campus branded URL. There's other tools out there, and you may have some internal processes you use as well, and we're more than willing to adopt whatever standards that you use. Custom features and coding, of course, you're going to have wish lists. If it's something everybody can use, we usually will add those to our wish list, and they will come about as they need it. If they're needed ASAP, or there's something exclusive for you, then we will address the billables that would go along with it. I'm going to tie into our single feature, our single layer support plan, and our after warranty for your printer support plans, because these sort of come hand in hand. Typically, when we come into an account, we come into printers that have been there from a vendor or multiple vendors. Some are in warranty, some are out of warranty, and some need to be replaced. So we will custom tailor a project based on your service needs. An example would be, during your peak periods of time, you may say, we cannot go more than 3 to 4 hours without a printer. So we'll put a package together that will allow on-site, on-demand swap during peak periods. We also, if you have multiple locations, we can manage printer pools for you and do after warranty management for that. And during warranty, we do all the support tickets with the manufacturers. We call them up. It's not your problem, it's our problem. We take it over. So we can put together packages like that. I'd be remiss if I didn't point out our custom printing services and fulfillment. And fulfillment is printing one card, placed in one envelope, sending to one person. So we have the ability of doing that in large quantities and small quantities. Key to this is going to be, during your peak periods, your resources may be limited, especially during the come back to your campus. You may underestimate the rush. So we have a feature in our portal called the post order button. This is how our customers send us print jobs. You simply go and build your jobs, you filter them out, and you select them all, and then you hit post order, and that sends an email to my production department. They then will work with the sales department to get you the pricing to do that, or we could be working off of an open PO, and we'll print and ship those in a matter of days. And we're talking thousands of cards in a matter of days. We can do tens of thousands a week in a very peak period. So what I'd like to do is, in addition, with the printers and supplies and accessories, we have a full access. So if you're looking for a single point of contact, we can do everything for you, or you can maintain the relationships that you already have. So the next thing is, how does the overall system work, including integration? So what I like to do, I'm going to get into our architecture. I'm going to try to keep this as low level, non-technical as possible. I've always thought I was a non-technical person, but obviously I seemed to be corrected quite consistently. So anyways, we're going to talk about our platform, our data, and our security. The common asked question is where we host it. So Amazon Web Services is where we host our databases. And Amazon Web Services basically is a server farm at another location, and we're renting those servers. AWS is a SOC 2 compliant vendor for the cybersecurity people out there and understand cybersecurity. That checks a box for them. In addition to that, we internally have built our infrastructure so that it meets SOC 2 compliance within AWS. An example would be we have 3 servers, one for our data, one for our photos, and one for our web services. And that has performance benefits to it, but it really checks off the box for security. And in addition, all our data is encrypted at rest and in transit. And we took a very serious step when we developed the code because we understand the security relationships with the data. And so we have an audit trail built into the portal down to the record level. So you can see who approved, who uploaded a photo, who approved a photo, who sent a print job in queue, who printed that print job. We go down to the granular level. So if you really need to look into that, we give you that option. We're going to get into an area that we sort of love. It's a painful area, and that is data integration. We actually have a product called it's a hosted Vionics credential database. We actually have an older version that's behind your firewalls, but our hosted has become the standard. And basically, the simplicity of this is we're using a ported file drop ingestion model. I'll explain that in simple terms. You're going to have a database custodian. Let's say it's your SIS system or HRS system, and they know that data. And you want to get that data into our portal. We're going to build a relationship with them, let them know what we're doing, and through sampling, we will help them narrow that export file down to exactly what we need. And we know it's not, as we've learned in previous presentations, some of that data is just not trusted. So once we know what's not trusted, it's possible we can build things within the portal that would make it more trusted. For example, maybe a primary address field. And I'm going to address that later. But what they're going to do is just generate basically a spreadsheet of data out. If they have photos, we'll take those too. We will ingest them into our portal, and they are now populated on a schedule. This is automatically done, let's say at 9 a.m., 12, and 3, maybe at midnight. So all a person has to do is look up a record and manage that record. And we can turn around and export back to the source database things like RFID number, the photo that we just captured, and possibly if we've updated their address as a primary field in the portal, that is something that your SIS probably really wants to have. And so we'll talk about that a bit later. In addition, we all live in this, again, I'm going to try to be generic here, world of transaction databases. They are standalone. Ideally, in a perfect world, your source database should be populating these door access control, your point of sale database or databases, your time and attendance, your parking, your tracking, all these stuff. Could even be a legacy ID system that you have databases that need to be maintained. So if you're having issues bringing information into those disparate databases through your source databases, we offer the opportunity to evaluate our Vionics portal using our Vionics credential database to manage those relations. This can get quite ugly when we get into it. However, again, like I say, we have no problem rolling up our sleeves and doing the dirty work to make that happen. So I'd like to talk about users and printing. We're going to go into more details on some of the features. So I'm going to focus on the printing aspects. The users are going to be assigned rights as long as they have rights to print. They'll have access to use our Vionics Print Queue Manager. This is a lightweight executable tool that's used to release print jobs securely to your defined printers. And we are printer agnostic. So you could use any printers you want as long as as long as you have a standard driver, and then you're going to print a physical badge at your printer. That's the primary aspects I want to show here over our architecture. Your users are local as long as they have a browser they're logging in. I'm going to take us outside the network, and I'm going to start by I don't want to get in the weeds on our Vionics ID designer. All I will say is it takes all the power of the best desktop designers and adds benefits to them. I will tout the fact that it is completely data driven through data logic, through actual images or text fields, all the way to building layers. As many are familiar who are on this call that understand badge designs, this addresses the most complicated of designs. And so I'm going to leave it at that, and we'll just move forward. I mentioned the mobility aspect. It's got to be placed that mobile enrollment, especially with COVID coming in, we have an idea what it's going to look like. We probably all have different concepts of that. I envision when students are coming back that don't perform or conform to your remote photo capture, and they must show up into a physical location, you're going to have to address some unique things. My picture is a stadium with 10-foot distancing guidelines and a roamer with a tablet logged into the Vionics portal, going up and looking up that student and capturing their picture live, and then queuing that printer right there to the printer and telling them to come back in 30 minutes and go pick it up at the student services office. So these are things that we can do, just throwing that out there. I'm not going to spend much time on our Vionics selfie feature and our virtual ID. We're going to dive into those in detail as we're about ready to start the presentation stage. And so we'll go into that. And I'm going to take a sip of water if you don't mind.
No questions.
And I understand we have no questions. I'm not paying attention to users, but thumbs up if we're doing all right. So the presentation, what I want to go over, what we envision, what most questions that come to us, is how we want to present this. So login and dashboard, want to talk about that. Our record management, our Vionics selfie, and our Vionics virtual ID are the focus. And we're going to get into how to print using our process as well. So let's get started. So again, I just want to mention this is a PowerPoint simulation. At the end, if you want to see some of the stuff, Randy's ready to log in and show some stuff off. But when we log in, the first thing I want to point out, we do have a user profile, two things that are important in the user profile. That is where we're going to enable, and we can enable two-factor authentication. If you really want to make your cybersecurity buddies happy, you're going to check the box if you start using that. And we use many different authentication apps as well. In addition, this is where we can control a few other user features. But what I like to focus on is when I log in, I'm given specific assigned rights. In my case right here, I have almost all the features and icons up here that I could use. So if I log in, let's say I'm a super user now, if I log in as a regular admin user, I would have less icons up here. If I am a basic user, and most of our users only see the home screen and the database the data management tab, because they don't need to set up record setups. They don't need to manage photo properties and user rights and everything else. I want to focus on our portlets down here. And this is a very powerful tool to get a lot of information in a very quick glance. This is ideal for someone like in your executive team that may not do any of that. They may have a clue how to use this system, but if they understand that they can get this data, it's not only powerful for them to understand the ID management aspects of the campus, but this could also give them some metrics and understanding of how the campus is growing and how their needs are going to expand. I'm going to go through and focus on the card group first. This is where we can see when new records are brought into the system, approved records have been approved for printing. These are printed records. I'm going to pay some close attention to reissued, lost, and stolen. They are very important security metrics, even more so in our PII world we live in today. So if these are paid attention to, and you build some best practices around them and then execute them on a regular basis, you're going to find your security to be tightened. We typically find that, and we actually preach to our customers, that security should always come first over convenience. After all, this is a security card. This is not a document. This is a card that governs security, now even more so through electronics. So I know there's common practices where we'll use the same number over and over again. We suggest to our customers not to do that. So the more you break away from reissuing a barcode with the same number, and instead of adding a card count to it, or issuing a new RFID number versus using the same one over and over again, these are features that we'll add. So these metrics up here guide that. Second is going to be our selfie matrix. As we get into talking about our Vionics selfie remote photo capture, there's a lot of information that you're going to want to know. So this single dashboard gives us an idea of how many selfies have been sent, how many reminders have been sent. Declined, when we get into the demo, you'll see we have a privacy statement. If someone's selected decline, they're not getting in. They can't use it. So this is something you'll have to reach out to these people because they may have a reason to decline it. They don't want to do it. So you may have to bring them in or figure out another way to get them in. And use and replace are tied to photos. When we send the selfie out, they're literally getting an access to their portal account through a secure process that does not require authentication into the portal. And so if there's already a photo there, they can select use photo. And if they want to replace it or upload a new one, they would select replace. And we get metrics off of that. We have lots of widgets in here that we can build that are designed for the data that you want to apply. These are the two features ones I want to go over, and we'll just move on into the data management aspects of the system. This is where we're going to have multiple card groups. For example, student and employee. Student data may be coming from SIS, employee may be coming from an HRIS system. However, if they're both coming from a single source database, that may just say campus ID. And we know that these are integrated with your campus SIS database. Things like vendor, visitors, contractors, events, these may be one-off events. These may be standalone instances that, for like, let's take vendor, for example, maybe you do not have, or purchasing doesn't have a database that's worthy of using for your vendor. So you end up manually entering, capturing photos and printing badges. By standing up a standalone instance for vendors, you may find this may grow into your source database eventually. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show off our employee feature here, and we're going to go into our record manager. And by doing so, we literally get a list of all the records in the database, and we can view these by 20 and go all the way up to like, I think it's 1,000 records at a time. What I'm going to do here, I want to just see all of my photos that are in the new state and they're missing a photo, so that I can select off send selfie, and all 11 of these records, when I select this, are going to receive automatically an email. And what I'm going to also show you, so it's been sent and everybody's got an email. I'm going to go into one of them for Marcus Kocher. You'll see he's got a hyperlink already sent to him. Now, what I want to do here is show you what Mark sees on his side, giving you a selfie mobile experience. So when Mark opens up his email, this is a fully customized template. This is one that we use. We get a pretty high response rate off of it, but it's fully editable. We actually do not have any COVID stuff in here. This is a great place to add COVID response or any other special messaging you want to talk about could be placed here as well. But what most people are going to do, especially the students, are going to just scroll down, see a hyperlink, not going to read nothing. They're going to click that hyperlink, and then that's going to launch them into the selfie mode. So the first thing that we have is a privacy statement. They are required to select yes. If they select no, they will fire off a denied response and they cannot continue. And so in this case, we're going to select yes. And then we actually have an optional CAPTCHA if you want to further security, so that I can select I'm not a robot, select my imaged motorcycles, verify myself. And now I am into the selfie mode. This is not an app. This is a browser. And the first process they come up to is our photo properties. We're going to let them know these are the features. This is all customizable. So this could say facing front, preferred light blue, black, solid background, no vacation photos, no filters able to be used. You could define whatever, no nose rings, whatever you want to say in here. And then you can have a sample here. Now, some customers like to have just the full sample. Other customers, that's not my face. So some of them will put sample across. It's your call, but this gives them an idea. This is what we're looking for. And then we're going to go into our card information. This tells this person who's receiving the selfie, these are the fields that are going to be placed on their badge, and gives them an opportunity to review them. And they can make some, we call them selfie editable fields, where they can make updates. So I don't go by Marcus. And you can see here, the SIS system has already populated Mark and actually brought over a license tag number, or maybe Mark entered that previously. However, Mark has moved. Mark's no longer a student, so it goes in the notes and may say something like, I'm no longer in the dorms, I'm living with my parents, and here's my address. And give you an example, we can mark that yes as used as primary address. This flags this as, hey, let's get this back to our SIS or source database for updates. Save that, and then we'll go into our photo. So in our photo, I actually skipped a slide, and I apologize, but right here, this is going to come up and say, use or replace. The use is, you'll see a photograph here, and they could use that current photo if you so admit, allow them to do so. You may have some instructions that say, hey, if your photo is over 3 years old, please replace it. And if it's a replace is synonymous for new and replace. So I selected the replace button, and I received the get photo. So I select get photo, and now it gives me the option. Do I want to take a photo, use it selfie mode or standard mode? Do I want to upload a photo from my library? Or if I was on a desktop, if I open this up on a desktop, I would be able to browse my desktop or network to get the associated photo. In this case, we're going to take a live photo, and we've launched the selfie mode, and now I've captured a good picture. I want to use that picture. I captured that picture, and that looks really good. So now I want to use that photo. So once I've submitted that, it will then submit it to our real time into our server. I will say there are, depending on network access, some are quicker and some are longer. Some can take up to 10 seconds for that photo to submit, because it's literally getting published into their Vionics portal record. And I'll sort of give you an example of that. So here's that image that came in for Mark. So this is the live image taken from his phone, where anywhere in the US or anywhere in the world, and uploaded it. So we have two options. One is we can crop validate that manually, or we can go through our cropping wizard, which will batch crop hundreds, thousands of photos. In this case, just to show off what happens when cropping, we're going to go into the cropping tool. So first thing, we have a list of icons up top here that enlarge it. You can reduce it, you can snap it to size. We have some automated tools. Our favorite is face recognition. We've got attributes, so if you want to lighten or darken an image, you could do that. We have red eye reduction and image rotation. So once that's done, let's select the face recognition, and you'll see that it snaps his face to the center. Mark has his head a little tilted, so we actually did a manual adjustment on that. As you see, his nose is off the center X. And then we're going to read through all these as the authenticator and say, yeah, he's facing front, the image is covering the overlay, and it's a sharp image. I like this picture, I can accept. However, if this was not acceptable, I could unaccept this, and Mark would receive another selfie. But I'm going to accept that. So now we'll come into Mark, and he has an acceptable photo that's been approved and to your standards. The next thing is we can start to print, but instead of printing, we want to review that. We have this virtual ID card set up so that it is tokenized. So in order for it to be tokenized, we have to generate a token. There's a generate token. We select that. You'll see the token successfully generated, and then it publishes this really long URL that's very secure. And then by selecting that URL, we can now view Mark's card. So here's Mark's card. It looks exactly the way we want it to print. So we would go back, approve Mark's record, and then refresh the screen. We'll see, again, this is a simulation where we're going to see a card for Mark that has no watermark. I want to pay it, the watermark, the not approved, inactive, lost, stolen, reprinted, or common Vionics portal statuses. So in that case, this is going to be the status here called status new. And you'll see now down here, it says on the bottom of the screen, status active. We also can use a source database status. For example, this would be an active record coming from your SIS or your HRIS system. And then we're going to print a card, and Mark's card is going to be printed as an active status. And then maybe a month later, Mark is terminated, but he still wants to use his ID to get into a game. If that QR code is scanned and his status changes to inactivated, that would show here, and that person would retain that card. So, and what we do is we have Vionics statuses in the top to bottom, and we would take your server, your source database statuses from bottom to top. It's in general how we make that work. So here I'd like to show you what it looks like, the virtual ID on a mobile platform. So here we have the back of a card, and the front of the card. And what's important about this is the exact card that prints the photo ID badge. So I can review the back of the badge. And here's exactly what the back looks like. And this is what will be printed. And this will be all the custom information you have on the back. So whatever you want. We branded this as a VID secured barcode. You scan this QR code on the physical card, and that would give you the live status like you see right here. And you can also, let's say Teresa's on campus at night, says she lost her card. We know everyone has their mobile phone. Hey, Teresa, bring up your virtual ID card. We're gonna have to do some stuff, some issues tomorrow. This is a lightweight and just a potential option. The guard could scan that QR code. This will come up on their phone, and they could and that would be saved as a bookmark on theirs, and they can review all the scanned cards that they need to review. Just an idea. The data tab. The data tab is also important in the virtual ID because this could state information like I don't have the source database status on here. That could be on there. We could publish the license tag or the parking sticker. Or their parking zone that maybe they're authorized to park in. These are things that you may want customer facing for that event. So I'm back at Mark's record. Everything looks great. So what I want to do now is print Mark's card. So I'm going to come up here and send Mark's print job to the queue. So by selecting it to the queue, in this case, I have 3 queues, just as an example. Human resources, security, and student services. It's very possible that Mark's at security office says, hey, I lost my card and I got to get a new badge printed. And security says, well, I don't have the card stock here, but I'll go queue it up. You'll need to go pick it up in human resources. I'll give you an example. So security could then send this to the human resource queue. And now that badge, he's done. Now, human resources is going to get an email or notification, and they're going to say, hey, Mark needs to pick up a badge, and they're going to launch their virtual ID card, and they're going to come into a login screen. This is a lightweight executable. It is not software. It does not require installation. Yeah, I went back up. So I'm being monitored. So they're going to log in. There's some setups and stuff they'll do to get this up front through their admin. But once they've logged in securely into the portal, they're going to see the available queues. In this case, I'm the human resource person. I see the human resource queue. I have an HTTP 5000 card printer, or I'd select whatever driver I'm using. And then I would connect to that print driver. And now you're going to see the queue. And I've got one card. I've got Mark's card in here for printing. And I could ideally, when you're in a batch mode, you really don't want to send more print jobs to the queue than you can manage in a single print. So we know most card printers like to print 50 cards at a time, max 100. So that's what I would recommend. You could send 1,000 to the queue here, but then release 100 at a time. So we're going to print that. And now you'll see that print job is gone. And now basically we're just going to review Mark's card. And I need to see here I'm doing on time. Do I need to stretch, John? Or all right, very good. We're at 45 minutes. And this sort of ends the presentation stage and sort of can go into question and answers, or I could have Randy go in and show some live features. So John, do we have any questions?
No questions at this point, Joseph. If you want to go ahead and do the live component, feel free.
Very good. So Randy's going to go through and just show again the basics of logging in and going through some of the things that we had talked about. So I'm going to switch seats with Randy.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. How's it going today? So again, my name is Randy Redding, and I'm the technical support manager here. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to share my browser. So let's end that here, and let me go ahead and pull up the Vionics portal. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and securely log in. And so this is going to be the Vionics homepage. Now, if there are any specific features that you would like me to showcase live, I can definitely do so for you. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of use the dashboard to kind of direct me on what I need to do today.
We do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
How does your printing tie in with NFC cards and mag stripes that need to have coding added? And that is from Diana Carrero at Loyola Marymount.
That's a good question. So our Vionics portal you can in the designer, you can enter in the mag stripe information. And when you go to release that print job, that mag stripe information will get encoded onto that card by your card printer. Now, the same thing can be said for your NFC. We have the capabilities of, once you release that job to the printer, as long as the driver is doing the encoding, that will encode into the card as well. So any type of, technology that we need to address, we can definitely kind of get that into the, into the card via the driver. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go to my student photo statistics, and I'm going to go ahead and see, hey, I have 5 photos that are pending validation. I'm going to click that there. It's going to bring me into my record manager card group here, and I'm going to see some photos that are pending my validation. So I'm going to highlight a record here. Let's go into Zoe's record. And I see that Zoe uploaded a selfie. So we can go ahead and crop and validate Zoe's selfie. Obviously, we can do the facial recognition if it's not already zoomed in enough. Or, I noticed that Zoe was kind of moving a little bit when taking the photo. So it's a little blurry. So we're just going to up that sharpness to kind of save the photo so we don't have to go back to Zoe and say, please resubmit. So we're going to apply that. We'll check all and accept. And now her photo is ready to be printed on a badge. So as you can see there, it's very simple to kind of do your day-to-day tasks all from your dashboard. So you'll go into your dashboard, you can, direct yourself accordingly, depending on the statistics that you see on your dashboard. Or if you choose to do so, let's say you have a student standing in front of you and you're like, hey, I'm here to pick up my badge, or I need this badge printed. You can easily go into your student record database and you can search that person by their first and last name. You can search them by their student ID number or any important information that's in the database.
2 more questions. Victoria Fielder asked, what other filters are there to use for approving a photo, and can you remove the background color?
Okay, so let's go ahead and let me grab another photo that needs to be validated, and we'll go through that.
And the second one is there a feature that will change the background? So similar question.
Okay.
And that's from Abe Serino.
Okay, so here are the image filters that we currently have. So if we go into here, we can see that we have all sorts of different brightness. A lot of what we see is a lot of times people send in a photo that has very terrible lighting. So the brightness tool likes, to save that image so we don't have to ask them again for another one. So there are multiple different image filters here. We also do have red eye reduction, and we also have rotate tool. In my time as technical support manager here, I have so many customers that submit on, an iPhone or Android that the photo comes in rotated. So if you rotate it, it saves the photo as well, so you don't have to do that outside of the program. And as for the removal of the background, so we currently do not have a way to remove the background, but that is definitely a good suggestion. But what I have seen is that it's simple enough that if you mark that photo as unacceptable, if they have too much going on in the background, then you can, mark it as unacceptable, and it will send them another thing for a selfie. Or what we like to do is I get photos almost on the daily where it's a group of people and they want to use that specific person. You can actually zoom into that specific person. Obviously, you have to have a little bit of information on who it is, so you know exactly who you're grabbing. And you can kind of zoom in to kind of get that background a little bit out. So obviously we want about really good facial coverage, so about 75 to 80% face, and then a little bit of the top torso.
Okay, there's another question from Diana Carrero, and she is asking, is there a means to take a photo in person in your card office?
Yes, that is exactly what we can do here. So I'm going to go ahead and validate this photo, and we're going to start and create a new record here. So what I'm going to do is when I create that new record, a capture button will pop up, and it will let us utilize the webcam that is currently installed on the computer. So we can utilize that webcam that's installed on the PC. Obviously, since we're using it for the Zoom meeting, it can't be accessed by two programs, but as long as you have a webcam installed, it will pop up right here in the capture area, and you can use it. You can also use a webcam that's integrated with your laptop. So if the user's sitting at the laptop and they want to, if you direct them to sit down at the PC, enter in their information, and you can, have them capture that image right there. Also, you can snap that photo with your smart device, plug it into the PC, or if you have an external camera, plug it into the PC, and you can browse to it by choosing a file on your local machine.
Lacey Sklasky is asking, is there a place to communicate why you denied their photo?
So currently, when you mark a record as unacceptable, it will shoot off a predetermined email that you set up ahead of time. And you will want to kind of cover the bases in that email on what you see on the daily on why you don't want to mark a photo as approved and said you mark it as unaccepted to get retaken. So we do not have that currently in our system that you can write it down live during, but what I do with customers when we set up that unacceptable notification is we go through some of the common reasons why that they get photos that they need to kind of retake if someone sends it in.
Let me jump in. If the selfie request, and especially the denied email, is set up correctly, you can just list the 4 common reasons why one is denied, and that should be more than enough than to have to enable another feature to deliver that.
But that is a very good suggestion there, and that's something that we can actually add to our wish list and possibly add it as a feature in the future to the Avionics portal. So what I'm going to go ahead and do next, I want to check time here.
We've got 5 minutes.
Okay, awesome. So if anybody has any other questions, just please feel free to shout them out. I'm going to actually go into our designer and kind of just show you really quickly, just a quick kind of overview of this here. So we're going to go in and we're going to clone a card, and I'm just going to kind of show you guys what it looks like in the designer spec of it. All right.
Lacey's also asked, can you require them to submit a government ID as well?
Yes. So in that, what I would suggest for that, our system currently does not accept like a separate thing built out for a government ID, but we do have a customer that possibly says, in your selfie, please hold up a government ID so that they can see it while you're taking that photo. So that's something that some of our customers do currently, but at the moment, we do not have a specific section where you can submit just a government ID.
I'll jump in there. That is a feature that is on a build list and is an active. So probably within the next 6 months, that's something we will be releasing. But currently, the workaround is hold it up in your photo.
We have a question from Victoria Felder asking, instead of a CAPTCHA, would there be a way to use a more secure login, such as an actual university login?
So currently we do not have any integration possible with the login of the selfie. We do have other than the CAPTCHA, we do have another option where they have to enter in their email address to verify it. So that is also a possibility. So they have to verify that email address when they go to log in. But I believe that is also something that has been brought up. People have brought up with in the integration side of it that we are actually currently investigating. So
I'll jump in again. Active Directory, we find usually is not even needed the way that we address our selfie. If it's something that you have to have and you want to integrate Active Directory, that also means we then we actually prefer to use an app that we have that we've actually turned off, because our goal is to get out of apps and use the URL open protocol to manage the portal. But we could possibly tie that in.
And I am just kind of showcasing briefly our editor. You know, as you can see here, we have everything layered on top of each other over on the right. So that's where logic comes in. And we also use layers in the sense that you use it in Photoshop. So it's definitely user-friendly, intuitive, and it's something that our customers, I give them about a 30-minute session on how to use it and set up new designs, and they just go right off and they set up all their new designs that they need. So it's very simple to change text on the back. You know, we can go in here, we can write it. We have all sorts of different tools that if we wanted to kind of center items and all of that good stuff. So it's very nice and intuitive. So we're going to go back to the home screen, and I think that's going to be right at about time. So unless anyone else has any other questions, I'm going to hand this back over to Joe for the exiting.
Actually, hand it over to John.
Yeah, thank you guys. Really, today's presentation was very informative. You did a great job doing a live demo. And thank you for all the questions that came in today. We appreciate your attention. Our schedule of virtual events is posted online. Please check out our website at www.naccu.org. Special thanks again today to our presenters from Express Badging. I'm John Ogle with NACCU. Enjoy your day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.